because the hay is made for rumen, no seeds. Can you lighten my hair up a little bit and take?
Now it's on there.
Okay.
Wait,
Thank
now
you.
you're blocking it. Scoot over a little bit.
Scoot over a
Yeah,
little bit.
just so it's right there.
I love
Got
it
it.
when women order me. Anything else?
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay. I'm going to double your pay.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, you know what 2 times 0 is, don't you?
0.
Okay, this is your job. Conventional world, they don't get it. The CAFOs today feed 40 to 50 pounds of corn silage, 5 pounds of soybean or soybean oil meal. The worst thing you can bring on a farm filled with toxins and poisons is distillers corn from the ethanol plants. They make ethanol out of corn and they feed it to steers and dairy cattle. And you've got glyphosate is in the germ. You know how they make all the breakfast foods with all the barleys and the oats and that? They go out and it's about ready to harvest, getting close. So they spray it with Roundup to kill it all. So that by next Wednesday, even your young immature kernels are ripe. So they don't have any poor kernels, good kernels. They all got killed on Wednesday. And where does glyphosate go? It goes into the most growing part of the plant, which is the seed. So when you get the seeds back in distiller's grain, you have got herbicides, you've got pesticides, you've got anything that's a side of glyphosate. The average, this is Marcia, his sister in the cities, is a psychiatrist with a shingle, and she treats autistic, ADHD, whatever, probably PWD, Paul Wayne for all these different things. And the average baby born in the Twin Cities has 14 pesticides in the umbilical cord today. Where are we headed in this society? That's why you want to be organic. Science kills cells. And we got all these kids that can't tie their shoes or yeah. We never had that before like we got now. Our food is medicine. And it behooves you people to all go out and be disciples. And this is really happening because of these young, educated females, guys. I'm sorry I'm seeing it in Organic Valley. These young, educated females, they don't look at a guy. They look through him. And then they'll get their dosing out. Here we go. This is going to change your life. You're going to say, should I date him anymore?
Hey, so is that the same for,
Will you use it?
Yeah.
I just
Not on
want
him, probably, so I'm already.
you're just saying that. I just bought that at San Juan Gems.
Well, awesome. I
You
understand
can
why.
have it. Merry Christmas. Okay, soils.
Paul, you have a question. Paul, with you, is that the same for brewers' grains too? People feeding brewers spent grains? Beer,
That
barley?
No, I don't think that's been killed with, it may have. No, I bet it is.
And then
Because that's the way they harvest all the grain.
that's in all beer too.
Yeah, you probably, if you drink enough beer, you won't care. Okay, you're gonna raise that grass right there, okay, for the hay and that, and they get it. So there's a William Albrecht. We're on soils now. There's a William Albrecht plant pathologist at the University of Missouri, saw the Liebig system, and he said they aren't balancing the soil, they're just replacing a few things. And they picked on potassium. What do we need in the soil? Let's back up. Here's the earth. 30% in the center is an iron, nickel, meteorite, or ball. And that baby is magnetized, which means there's current. There's current in the middle of our earth. Now we have 65% is lava. And it's moving slowly. And you've got these tectonic plates where they're round, and this is where you have your volcano activity and earthquakes, okay? The tectonic plates, you heard. This is molten lava, it's moving. The other 5% is the earth crust, where you have 92 elements. Let's back up to this rotating. This dictates the poles. Every 85,000 years, the poles switch. We are in a period right now where the magnetic North Pole has migrated down into Siberia. They think we're starting this 85,000 years. And this may, and they don't know how quick, but they think it's going to be fairly fast, switch the poles. How is that happening? Well, these 92 elements are either a plus, which is a cation, or a negative, which is an anion. Now, on the elemental label, you have a proton, a neutron, and one electron going around. That's hydrogen. That's the first element. You add another one, and another one, that's helium. The next ring, the first ring only has 2. All the rings thereafter have 8. You add this one, that's beryllium. It's got 3. Now, taking it further, the cations go counterclockwise. The anions go clockwise. These have 3 times the energy. This is discovered by a guy named Corey Reams. Einstein and Dan Scow, who was a mentor of mine, was a student of these. He's got all these guys' records. They found that the cations, and Milhouse was the other guy. These 3 worked on this. The positive cations have 750 Milhouse units of energy. The anions have 250. Okay? So if you're helium, you have 750 per electron, and there's 2 electrons, and you give the center 250 once. You can take all 92 elements, and if they're cation with, like, iodine, you take 53, and I think it's negative, times that, you can figure the energy level of every element in the elemental chart, and that's what you raise in the radionics machine. You have a frequency. You've got so much calcium, so much sulfur, there are pluses and minuses, and you have an energy level and frequency. You have a different frequency. You have more sulfur, you have more air. Who's bigger boned? You have a different, everybody's got a different frequency, and you can pick it up on the Polaroid camera, the old camera with the silver, that had your energy frequency on it. That's where radionics works. But anyway, so we're going this way, so we're like at 250. When this decides to go this way, we have a whole different energy, and that's flipping the pole. Why is this important? Most of my time today, in my stage in life, I'm helping Megan do this and that, but I am looking at DC current on every farm. You have the electrical system, the substation making the electricity. They take it out, you use so much, and what you don't use doesn't go, the neutral isn't big enough, so all the poles and everything are grounded, so the electricity returns through the ground back by Ohm's law. Okay, we've got dry gravel here. You've got 8 ohms resistance. You got a crick along here, and there's 2 ohms resistant. You build a new dairy setup with an equal potential plane where everything is illegal to build without hooking everything together. The concrete that has rerod, the milker that's grounded, anything that's grounded, the fencers, that electricity is going back to the substation. You better know where your substation is. When you build a new dairy system, these huge CAFOs, huge, and they got fans. They got things all grounded, and the bigger the position, bigger the equal potential plane, the lower the ohms. The transformer wants to talk to the magnetic North Pole. When I drive in the yard, where's the transformer? South of the barn. This guy just built a new barn in Ontario, Wisconsin. $3 million. He's going to put in robots. It's going from 300 cows to 600 cows. He's got an equal potential plane with a 2 ohms resistance. He's got a lagoon in his back. Bacteria generate, the microbes generate electricity when they break down bigger molecules. You see, when you have a, this is a protein molecule, amino acids, that's carbon, you hook on to nitrogen, you hook on to sulfur. When you go through photosynthesis, you put energy from the sun, but you put frequency from life. When you digest this and you break this bond, you got energy. And that energy creates a half a volt of electricity in the slurry spark or a harvester holding manure. So this setup is pumping DC current. When you ground AC current, it becomes DC current, and what does it do? Screws up the immune system. You got cortisol. Shuts the immune system down. The heifer comes out of the parlor and bumps her leg, gets a little blood clot. We don't have an immune system. 2 days later, it's a big blood clot. 6 days later, it's full of pus. 10 days later, she's dead. Everything dies. Everything dies. Everything dies. I had another system, client of mine for years. There's his barn. There's a hill. He has a silo. His cows are here. He puts in a new transformer pole. You know what a smart meter is? You better learn. Smart meters do 32 things. They can listen to you. They can change the frequencies. They can do everything, but they're grounded. Big time. They're grounded. This silo is full of wet haulage. This is low. These groundings are going into the barn. There's 5 cows standing there. This guy, all of a sudden, his herd just crashes. He had 1 cow here calved, milk feeder didn't get up, dead. He had 1 cow here that didn't pass the placenta, 8 days, dead. He had another cow here, got ketosis, dead. I go in, he calls me, and he says, I got something happening. I drove in there. He had 5 cows, and they're standing in a free stall, where it means they're free, there's iron here, and they got a neck chain, and they're hooked by the neck chain, and this cow will take and hook her neck around this neck chain, and she'll press her nose to the curb, and she'll pick up the foot. And she stands there because she's grounding out the current coming through the concrete, coming through the stalls. There was 3 cows over on this side. And they were standing there. He said, I can't keep any cows alive there. I said, how long have you been doing that? Well, he said, I don't know, 3 months. I said, you got a new transformer pole? Yeah. I said, if you got a smart meter? Well, I don't know. He said, it's some new meter. New Mexico is outlawed smart meters. Google smart meters. It's being rammed down our throats. You're going to pay 15% more for electricity. They can listen to what you're saying. This is an intrusion. We're going some scary times, guys.
Yeah, but they want it because then they don't have to, it's easier for them to read the meter because they can see the meter readings at home.
I went back and requested an old analog meter that they have to come out and read. I went to the head of our electric co-ops and Lions Club with me, and I went in and there's literature been written and all about this. I went in and I threw it on his desk and I said, I refuse to have a smart meter. I said, I want the old analog meter. He said, we give you the chance to option out. It'll cost $50 a month for us to come out and read it. That's their method. I mean, they're getting $600 a year out of me because they don't want to pay their fee. But this is going to come to fruition. This is too big. This is going up the political ladder. Just keep your back of your mind, smart meters. If they come out to change the meter to a new type, tell them you want to opt out, especially if it's a farm co-op. So anyway, we're getting off the soils deal. How did that happen? So, William Albrecht. He's taking a nap right now. How do we grow this plant? Well, our earth has a negative charge. So, figure the earth's colloid is shelving. The more organic matter, the more clay colloid, the bigger your gas tank. So this has a negative charge. What's the positives we want here in what proportion? And this is in my book, calcium, that has 2 pluses. You want 70 to 75% calcium. Magnesium. 15 to 18% mag. Not manganese, mag. Potassium, which comes from urine in the north, and potassium nitrate was gunpowder, and then they wanted to make potassium chloride because potassium makes the plant look green, but it's hollow, not much energy, no hemicellulose or cellulose in a hollow grass, and it's loaded with calcium or with potassium. Your calcium-potassium ratio should be 1 to 1.5 in forage. When it's 1 to 3 to 6, this is a veterinarian's dream. You get underedema, they get milk fever, they won't respond to treatment, they get ketosis, they get displaced abomasum, and I love them. I can make $150 in 45 minutes on the surgery, and I can do it with you. You can stay out cutting hay. And it's 95% successful. Saves a whole lactation because it happens right after calving. This guy's going to grow his $4,000 from his cow. He's still going to have the cow. He can breed her back. He can milk her. If he does, and they won't eat any grain. The stomach comes from the bottom right side way up to the left side. And this comes from an acidotic rumen that's eating a lot of grain. In the organic world, when they get going in organic, I tell them your goal is to get 70% of the dry matter in a cow as grass and hay. You are now at 75% seeds. And a lot of them don't feed any hay because they figure corn stalks is grass and hay, and it's not. It's lignin and pectin. And these poor cows are demineralized. When I started practice in '67, I saw 2 cows my first year, and I hit this ground running that had a uterine torsion. And what's a uterine torsion? It's when the whole calf in the cow, pre-calving, does a 180 counterclockwise. And they were dilating, so you get, and they'll stand there with their tail out like they got a kidney infection. And they just stand there. And they'll go look for a place to hide. You have a calf. And when you reach in, it gets really tight. But she's not big. Well, if you move up your arm good and you reach in at 9 o'clock, you're going to get a shelf. And if you go to that shelf, here's this calf is laying on his back. And you can tickle his nose, you poke him in the arm, the feet. How can you get him twisted? Dr. Burnett was 2 inches taller than you and weighs 40 pounds more. I have a lot of upper body strength. My body strength went down to here. But you reach in and you cup the head. In this hemisphere, they're all flipped counterclockwise. In New Zealand and Australia, they're all flipped the other way. Dr. Linda Coates, who I mentored in New Zealand, all her cardiacs go the right way. Now I could take, and I used every muscle I And if you got them up to 11 o'clock, boy, then you went in and you grabbed the seat and you had it. Now, if you're a young female veterinarian, Dr. Van Acker, who wrestled at 190 or at 119, he couldn't flip them. So then you put the chains on them, and you have a detorsion rod, and you flip them. But I could flip 99% of them. I had 2 of them the first year of practice. When I quit, 35 years later, almost 40% of my calvings were torsions. Why? Because these cattle on corn silage don't have any calcium and magnesium anymore. That's why corn-fed beef tastes like wet cardboard. Your grass-fed beef, Bob, has got taste, and that's coming from the minerals, from your grass. And he's a barley sprouter, still sprouting barley. And I'll tell you why he's still sprouting barley. 99% of the barley sprouters quit because mold got him. He's got a structured water device. That's how structured water, it works, doesn't it? Yeah, thank you. Anyway, Elbrecht said, and then sodium is 1%, potassium is 5 to 8. When you get this ratio on your soil colloid with a pH of 6.5 to 6.8, you will grow a highly mineralized high brix. What's brix? Brix was a Frenchman that wanted to have a sweet wine, which is sugar, but brix measures total dissolved solids in the sap of the plant. That's energy. When you give a plant about 12 brix, insects will not feed on it. Insects will not feed on it because there's so much sugar that that insect will convert it to formaldehyde and alcohol and will kill them. And then when you get an apple that's 12 brix, no more codling moth, no more apple maggot. 12 brix is the secret. You won't get alfalfa weevil. So that's your goal. And how do you get this? Through a soils program and a foliar spray, which we're going to talk about. Any questions? You can raise the pH with lime. I won't go into any big details on this, but you can raise the pH. One other thing about soils is, one more thing, Brittany. What are the negatives? What happens to the negatives if your soil is negative? Guess how much rain I had 3 years ago? 54 inches. Sulfur is a negative, boron is a negative. They leach with rain. You do not have a leaching problem like we have in the Midwest, because you get, 15, 16 inches rain here?
Maybe.
Try 9.
Yeah.
Try 9.
We have to really watch our sulfur, because 10% of the amino acids in protein contain sulfur. And the year we had 54 inches, the next year, where these cornfields and that are all in these humps and side hills, they can drive a tractor on it without tipping it over, they plant corn. No-till corn. Our USDA is so screwed up, they should not be able to get crop insurance when they put seeds on highly erodible land. I had a friend from England ride with me for a few days a week, and he rode around with me in the hills, and he'd come around, that man should be in prison. That man should be in prison. Don't you know that grass is a crop? Why are you raising corn? We just want to live it. And we're raising corn on side hills in my country. We had no glacier, the Wisconsin glacier, 25 years ago. It's all hills, it's the driftless area. Paleo man was in there 12,000 years ago in Army. We found artifacts from Paleo man on our farm. I'm doing a dig on top of the hill with my grandkids where they sat me arrowheads. But anyway, so you watch sulfur and boron as they leach. The next year, all these little knobs, yellow corn, half the size. They thought, I don't have enough nitrogen. I had plenty of nitrogen, they didn't have any sulfur. So now all the co-ops in the last 4 or 5 years, they're adding sulfur to all their fertilizers. They're adding sulfur to all their fertilizers. If you're going to plant a garden, and you want to wake up a garden, you put kelp and you put humates right on the row with your seeds. You've got carrots here, you've got string beans here, you put your seeds in, you put this in your hand and you put it, it's not salt-based fertilizer. Kelp is loaded with manganese. Manganese is in the ovaries, in the testes. Manganese is for fertilization. Manganese is for germination in a seed. For a seed to germinate, you need manganese from kelp. An animal and the plant need the same enzyme to start life. Humates feeds microbes. It's full of herbs. Energy. You need 300 herbs for a seed to germinate. You put sprinkle a little kelp and humates right on the row, and then you will pop up the garden so quick. And you'll get every seed to germinate. Wait until that ground temperature is close to 70, and you look at just toast. And then 4 weeks later, you come along and you sprinkle a little handful of humates on top of your rows. And you weed, and we got good Elbrick soil, a lot of humates. You go to weed, and it just pulls right out. You get so much tilth and aggregate. You walk on that stuff, and it's like walking on a sponge. It takes 3 to 5 years to turn a glyphosate farm around. From experience, I get the comment from the old people, how's it going? Been organic 8, 9, 10 years, and he says, it's gotten so easy. Remember when I started, I couldn't raise a calf. Remember when I couldn't do that? My son-in-law or my son, they don't do half of the things you gotta do. Things just go so easy. When you get that firm click, and then what do you get? You get birds. You get scarlet tanagers. You get Baltimore Orioles. You get the wildlife just come. They know. Everything's frequency. Everything's frequency. So, any questions on soils?
Yeah, in our area, the only place I've seen a pH less than 7 point something is up here in the river valley where it's in the high 6s. So this whole valley is above 7.
Is it, yeah, and you're full of calcium here.